Add your social media. Come on, please get rid of that. Okay. What is a CFC? Okay, Danielle. Sorry you missed that. A CFC, chronically fermenting cell, and the reason I call them chronically fermenting cells, which the Rockefeller crime family calls cancer, uh, or Sagittarius or something like that, uh, because that's exactly what they are. They're fermenting cells that have learned, that have adapted to, and are able to ferment successfully. Because the reason I say that is because fermentation is a very inefficient way of producing energy, right? It's very, very inefficient. It's like 19 times less than the normal way. And so as a result, it needs to really have modified its epigenetic expression so that it can now be successful and survive on fermentation. So we call them chronically fermenting cells, and that's what they are, CFCs. The reason that word is the reason that acronym, that phrase or acronym is should be used. I don't like the word should, but in this case I will use it because two reasons. One is it conveys information. Now you know what the situation is. It's chronically fermenting cells. How did that happen? Okay. How can we resolve it? Okay. We can develop a strategy. That's why I like it. And it doesn't carry any emotion, where the other word carries nothing but emotion, no information, right? Cancer. You don't know what that means, except so it doesn't help you in any way, and it makes you paralyzed with fear. So it's not of use at all. So that's why we use CFC. So I hope that is clear. It was kind of a quickie, but uh, okay. So by the way, everyone, we can we can uh, interact and like you asked me a question, I answer and all that on these groups. That's why these groups are so important. That's why I started them so that we can interact. Because on this, I really kind of the premise of this whole live stream is I'm going to be answering questions that have already been sent in. Okay, so anyway, although I can't help interacting sometimes, but okay, listen, whoever this is that thinks I need their help, Jazz, she keeps coming up. Okay, all right, so that's what happens with chemo and radiation. So if you went the conventional route, and if they were successful, their success is that there's no longer any detectable by imaging. All right, um, and there are biomarkers in the blood that they can look at too. But my God, um, like tumor markers, but tumor markers are very very uh, well, they're, first of all, tumor markers are not tumor markers. That's not their biology. They're not. We don't have tumor markers. What we have is we have different kinds of antigens on the cell, which as cells are dying with their normal, turnover rate, there's a certain amount of all those in the blood, and you can get what's called the normal range, or the healthy range. If you can find a healthy person, then you can get a healthy range. But the standard range of this substance uh, in the blood, such as CA15-3 for breast, CA125 ovarian, CEA for colon, etc., CA19-9 for pancreas, but they're all pretty much can be found in any location. All right, so they're not really specific at all, and someone can have a large tumor in one of those areas, and the tumor marker is normal. So they're not, and sometimes the tumor marker is going up, and not because it's growing, but because it's dying so quickly. So that's why we don't use. That's why you have to use other supporting. So what part of your question was how can you monitor this? So in addition to tumor markers, which only if you take them in context, is the LDH going up? Is the ferritin to iron ratio increasing above 5? Do we look at thymidine kinase? Is that going up? Thymidine kinase. Um, Phosphohexoisomerase, which we used to be able to get from a lab called American Biologic. Was it? No, what was? I think it was. And then they. Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about it, Emma. There's a they out there. Uh, uh, who made it impossible for American biologics to get their uh, reagents, so they couldn't do the test. So they closed. They closed in December. It's a bummer. It's a very, very important test, PHI, because it's an enzyme that's used by fermenting cells. So just like LDH. LDH is another important biomarker because it's the last enzyme of glycolysis, of fermentation. Okay, so if it's going up, we know that there's increasing fermentation. We know that, clear. Now, LDH is normally found in lung, heart, liver, I mean, in many tissues anyway. So it's not that it's just related to that. However, it can, if it's going up and you have a tumor or CFC condition, then we look at other things, ferritin. So we have to look at the whole pattern. So in answer to your question, we look at the whole pattern. But what we want to do mostly is we want to understand that how this came to be was that uh, these cells, wherever they were root canals. Whoa, whoa, wait a minute, Holly. Never, never. There's there, never. We'll talk about that in a moment. But um, where was I? Anyway, we're talking about remission and chemo and radiation and all that. So we make it becomes undetectable, and we're using these biomarkers, and so that'll help us. But more importantly, and this is what I was getting to, is to understand that what happened was uh, because of being alive in the 21st century and being exposed to all the toxins that we are everywhere, invisible and visible, EMF and uh, uh, chemicals in the water, heavy metals, aerosolized things from planes, and stuff like that. And I know that's political, but sorry, it's also affecting us. So I have to talk about it. All these things uh, combined assault or become part of the extracellular matrix, which is the sea in which our cells swim. Our cells live in the extracellular fluid. They don't live in the blood. The blood, the non-cellular portion of the blood, meaning non-red blood cell, non-white blood cell, and non-platelet, go into the through osmosis go into this fluid that surrounds the cells, right? And it's back and forth. So the waste products go out and the nutrients and gases go in. Right? This extracellular fluid is where the cells live, and this is the, the like the aquarium in which, if you think of our cells as fish, that's the aquarium there. And so their response, everything the cell is doing it in response to its environment, and its environment is that extracellular fluid. All right, so that's what we have to think about. So our job then is to make sure that extracellular fluid is clean and non-toxic, so that our cells can do what they do and is full of the nutrients that our cells need. Okay, if we can do that, then our cells will function optimally. It's a condition called health. All right, so that's our job. So that's what we need to do, and that means making sure that we're eliminating all waste, uh, uh, and that we get rid of all toxins everywhere, from our dental to our mind, every part of our body. We have to do a very thorough detoxification process. Then what we have to do is uh, continually do that. So we live a life once we've cleansed, which is 3, 8, 12 weeks of juicing, fresh vegetable juice with some fruit to make it delicious, uh, or a water fast, but that should be uh, under supervision, or at least assistance, uh, if you go past the week. Um, colon hydrotherapy, lymphatics, all the things that we know about. Right. So, and once we've done that, now we enter a life that gives us a passageway into a life that's not going to be toxic. And that's a life that we're going to eat real human food in the right intervals, right? And we're going to have a long period of not eating, so our body has a chance to clean up. We're going to go to sleep early. We're going to move around all day long. So we're going to do all the things that would allow that extracellular fluid to be perfect for optimally functioning cells. The cells don't have to adapt to anything. So when they have to adapt because they're not getting what they need, those adaptations are what are referred to as diseases. And they're not diseases, they're adaptive processes. Becoming insulin resistant or whatever the cell's doing to survive. Okay, we don't want that to happen. We want it to be flying happy. Okay, all right. Now, so that's how do you stay in remission is that's it. And if you've received toxic therapies, then you really need to do a very thorough cleansing right now. Right? Juice cleanse. 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, go as long as you can. What kind of juice? Celery, cucumber, kale, spinach, lemon, and apples or whatever, pineapple, whatever you want to make it delicious. Make it delicious. It's a little extra sweet at that time. Okay, so what? You're not going to ever get rid of glucose because your body's going to make it if you don't put it in there. I'm not saying to eat it. I'm just saying that if you get it from a natural form, in order for you to accomplish a goal, what's the goal? The goal is to clean the water in the aquarium. We got to clean the water. We got to just flood it and just if you're running and peeing all day long, then you're doing it. If you're doing a juice cleanse, you start from the moment when you wake up. There's no 18-6 of not eating and eating while you're doing a juice cleanse because you need to just really flood. So you start in the morning when you wake up and stop around 5 if you can or 6 because you don't want to be getting up all night, right? That's what you want to do. Okay, so yeah, so that so if you've just come through a conventional thing, you got to do that. Then you're going to eat food, which is real food, which is human food. What is real human food? Imagine you are in the jungle naked, and it is 7,000 years ago. Tell me what you're going to eat, and that's human food. That's it. You don't have to do. Now, biological dentists. I hear you guys talking about it. We got to get a biological dentist because they are what we refer to like when we talk about medical doctors. Alternative, integrative, holistic. That's basically the term for the dentist that does that. And the dentist that does that is really, 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 they're amazing. They're amazing. But you got to find one. They're now. Look when you're looking at the website. IAOMT is the organization, International Association of Medical Toxicology. But anyway, you want them to be certified by that, not just a member of it. And you want them to be certified in SMART, which is Smart Mercury Removal. Yeah, and then certain things, they have to have done. Yeah. And if there's a root canal, you don't save them, you get rid of them, and you do it the right way. You're using ozone, platelet-rich fibrin. There's a whole process. Okay, and if they're not doing that, if you're in touch with the biological dentist and they're not doing all of that, then they're not really for you. They're not what you need. Okay, very good. That's how you stay in remission. Now, okay, so by the way, things have been a little chaotic since the turn of the year. This year for us, and if you've been following us, that you've seen that, and that's just because we have an exchange of personnel. So we're getting back together now, and things. So we're still going to do that fast together. I'm sorry it wasn't in January, but we're going to do it. So please hang in there. We're gathering our people, and we're going to be. It's as you can see, the posts are much more fun and easier to watch, easier on the eyes and the mind. So anyway, it's going to get better and better and better and better. So, but I'll be getting back to you. But anyway, the groups. Remember the health and healing, the parasite, and the CFC guidance group. CFC again is what? that condition they call cancer. We don't call it that because that's not what it is. I promise you, go to a surgeon, open you up, you're not going to find any astrological signs. I promise you. And if you do, well, I guess there could be some people in the world who had themselves tattooed on an organ. They're like, I don't, like, nah. Anybody? Nah. So let's pretty much say that's not going to happen. Hey, sincere servant, good morning, good evening. My thoughts on Signatera. Okay. Anyway, these groups, join them so we can interact like I want to do here. But instead of having to answer all these pre sent in questions, the previously submitted questions, I've got to do that. But I want you to join these groups so we can interact. Okay. And I give lectures on stuff, and there's all sorts of things. We're gonna have Darren come, and we're gonna have raw food classes and all kinds of stuff. So please get on there so we can talk. My thoughts on Signatera real quick and HER2. Signatera, all of these tests that are looking at circulating tumor cells and making any decisions about what to do are falling short, because we know that 0.01% of the cells in a tumor are capable of metastasizing. The rest aren't. So now, if I do a blood test and I find I've got all these circulating tumor cells and I do any testing on it, I have a 99.9% chance of getting a cell that's irrelevant, that's not capable of metastasizing. So what am I gonna? Now, the fact that there are more and more of them tells me something. It tells me that there's movement, it's happening, right? That's what it tells me. But other than that, I wouldn't look at the genetics. I wouldn't do the genetic evaluation or anything of that. The name of the groups, Danielle, I guess Nicole will do that. Health and Healing, Parasite Guidance, CFC Guidance. And if you're Health and Healing, we talk about health and healing. Everything from fasting to meditation to sleep to food to friendship to love, exercise. And the Parasite group, talk about parasites. And you also have membership automatically in the Health and Healing. And the CFC group, we talk about CFCs, but you also have membership in the Parasite and the other. So that's how it works. And you just go to drlodi.com, drlodi.com, and you'll find that you can sign up for the groups there. And we can talk, interact. All right, so anyway, as you know, it's only Twitter or X that it's Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. All the other platforms, it's Dr. Thomas Lodi. All right. All right. So let's get into some questions, okay? Okay, where are we? And I've got, if you could see this, you'd say, what is he doing? Yeah, I got this thing here with, I'm looking at Instagram, and then so I've got to read around this. It says, this is from Tanya. I just came across your video on YouTube as I was researching parasites. My 9-year-old son was born with cobalamin C deficiency. He needs to take weekly intramuscular shots of B12. I was wondering if parasites are behind his condition. I was wondering, and his doctor says that if it weren't for his blood test, she wouldn't be able to tell he had this deficiency. Overall, he's quite normal, except for being on the 50th percentile for height and weight. He's always shorter than his peers, and he has high homocysteine. Except when you were giving him vitamin C, his homocysteine came down. Okay, so could parasites be involved in him having this deficiency? No, I mean, no. It's just an unfortunate. Go back, come on, guys. It's just an unfortunate situation that there's this deficiency. But an interesting thing about deficiencies in for example, G6PD deficiency, which is an enzyme that you know helps protect the cell, and red blood cells really depend on it. And if you have this deficiency, you can't get high doses of vitamin C IV, and you can't get ozone IV because you'll wind up red blood cells won't be able to protect themselves and they'll burst. Then you have a problem. Turns out, if you give low dose of the vitamin C or the ozone, very low dose for a while, you upregulate the ability to produce that enzyme, and you can. Now, is this happening with all people? Probably not. I've not worked with all people, but I've seen it happen. And Dr. Schallenberger, a friend of mine who works with ozone, has seen it happen with ozone. I've seen it happen with vitamin C in IVs to be able to increase the G6PD. The reason I'm saying that is that whatever deficiency your son may have, there may be a way to upregulate it to bring it back into function. And in this particular case, I wouldn't know how to do it. I'll have to think about it. If you're, yeah, that's a tough one. Anyway, yeah, continue with the weekly shots because B12 is really important for all sorts of uh, DNA replication, our nerves. It's very important. Many functions, and yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. So get the shots. Continue to get the shots. Now, I don't know if you can do sublingual. There might be other ways of doing it. It's a bummer to get a shot every week. Um, but anyway, for now, you got to do that. Um, Now, you notice that the vitamin C brought down his homocysteine levels, meaning that if he had optimal nutrition and optimal conditions of living, whatever deficiencies he has will be minimized. And we've seen that. I had years ago a woman who had a child who was a Down syndrome and pretty, like moderately affected, where uh, they're severely affected where they can't even leave an institution. They're institutionalized. And then there's moderate where they're in trouble. They can't really go outside much. Um, and then there's the high functioning Down syndrome. Anyway, this person was moderate, the son, and she fed him raw food from the time he was young, 3 4 years old. Graduated high school with the other kids, not in the special school. You know, in other words, what happened was they optimized his ability to survive, to function, because he had all of the right conditions um, for health. Okay, so in addition to that food, you had the extremely loving and caring mother and father, um, and the environment. So there was everything was right, and so that what that demonstrates is that even we might actually have a genetic condition, right? So 5% of us are born with genetic conditions. Um, and by the way, there's the word genetic predisposition blows my mind. I don't know. I have no idea what that means. You either have a genetic problem or you don't. Predisposed. Anyway, but that just to show you what I'm saying is that for Tanya is that I saw this. I mean, so it was actually a distant relative, and I was happily blown away. So what I would say is maximize his health. Make sure he's eating uh, human food and cleansing and all that sort of thing. So that would be that's a lot of stuff that when he's 9 years old, you'd still have a chance. Um, he's probably developed really unhealthy appetites at this point if he's living a normal life. But we can talk. We join one of the groups, Health and Healing. Okay, Ashley, 40 years old, diagnosed with stage 4 neuroendocrine carcinoma, have over 50 lesions. It's also in the lungs, spine, shoulders, hips, other bones. It's literally everywhere. Was in a sledding accident a couple of weeks ago and had surgery for your rectum. Noticed a huge mass in the stomach was ultimately finding them in the liver. Everything was moving so fast. Was diagnosed 11 days ago, and I'm already at Huntsman's and started chemo yesterday. Dr. Soares, my oncologist, I know there are many things I can be doing. 3 weeks ago, I was normal. Okay, all right, Ashley. When you say 3 weeks ago you were normal, that means that's how you thought of yourself, and so you were doing all these things, and you had the confidence to do it. You're still that way. What you've got to do is get back to that mind thing, not mind, and throw away their words and realize, yeah, you've got these problems, and you've got to deal with them. But don't use their words and their prognosis. And because here you say that it's got a poor prognosis. Don't listen to that. Okay, I mean, their guess is it's unlikely to turn out well. That's their guess. Well, great. Okay, I don't care what their guess is. All right, you don't either. There anything you can do. There's a lot you can do, and you need to do. And I need to ask you something. I wish we were interacting because I'd like to know. Did you take a Pfizer or Moderna shot? Because that would. Anyway, I'm not going to get an answer here, but. All right. So anyway, so the reason I'm asking you is because of the way this comes on and the way you're describing it. It sounds kind of like what they're calling turbo. And anyway, so. But yeah, there's many things you can do, and chemo's not it. Okay, chemo's not it. If you're going to get chemo, you should get it with. If I were working with you, and I felt like things were moving so rapidly that we needed to use chemotherapy, I would use it low dose with insulin, so that I could target the CFCs and not the rest of your body, and that's what I would do. Okay. Good evening, Scooby the doll. All right. Okay, so uh, it's called insulin potentiated therapy. It's ever since around 1918, 1920, it predates chemo. Um, I was trained by the grandson of the man who invented it, and it's amazing. So if you need chemo, that's how you do it. You don't just go and get full blast chemo because that's gonna wipe you out, wipe you out, wipe you out, and and produce metastasis and all that sort of thing. So that's not the way to go about it. But we need to, Ashley, we need to work with you to, you got to clean out, you got to do a thorough cleansing, colon lymphatic, heavy metal, everything. We got biotoxin removers, binders. We've got to balance your hormones. We've got to balance your autonomic nervous system. We've got to heal your gut. We've got to balance. We've got to restore your immune system. We've got to do a lot of things. Okay, so we've got, and everything's moving so fast. That's great. So you've got to join the CFC group so that we can talk specifically about your situation. Okay, because there's just so much. There's just so much I can't. If it was just you and I right now, it's after 2 hours, we wouldn't be done. That's how much information it is. But please join. Okay. Now they're saying it's a very rare cancer. No, it's it doesn't often or the CFCs occur more commonly in breast, pancreas, colon, right, and etc. So they don't occur usually in the neuroendocrine cells, although they do. It's not that uncommon either. All right, and well, what can you do other than chemo? I don't know if you're getting other. The neuroendocrine are cells that produce hormones, and you can, and part of the symptomatology of this condition could be like, especially if it's develops what's called carcinoid, where you get flushing, and you can get all kinds of stuff, right? So, but all kinds of just flushing, nausea, and these guys from hormones. Now, there in all of biology, there's an on and off switch. For example, things that initiate a situation, and things that modulate it, bring it down, right? And there's always a fine tuning that's going on, nanosecond by nanosecond, right? Estrogen and progesterone. That's over. That's actually a longer phase. The estrogen is first couple weeks of the cycle, and progesterone the second couple of weeks. But still, throughout the cycle, you still have a little bit of each, and they're doing that. Then you've got DHEA and cortisol. So everything has got a yin and a yang. All right. So pituitary gland produces growth hormone, and the also produces the uh, hormone that turns it off. All right, called somatostatin. But somatostatin also turns off a lot of hormones. So it's used with, for example, acromegaly. Acromegaly is a condition where growth hormone is in excess, and the person has already grown past the point where their bones fuse, right? Your bones fuse at around age 16 to 18 in boys, and girls maybe sooner. But around that time is when your bones fuse. If you get an excess of growth hormone before your bones fuse, you'll become a giant. After your bones fuse, what happens is now you get your bones grow, but they're not growing longitudinally. So you'll get like uh, hypertrophied bones, maybe here and here. You look like remember the Hulk in that green guy? Just really accentuated bones in the face and in the hands and all that. It's called acromegaly. And so what they use is somatostatin. They use analogs of it, which are similar, chemical similar. So they use octreotide and lenioatide and these other kinds of chemicals, which can also be used for the carcinoid, which would be the symptomatic neuroendocrine CFCs. All right, so if you're having that, it also helps with just slowing everything down. So I don't know if they've got you on that, but they should. It's you don't not just we're not just chemo. Plus, you got to get away from them, and you got to find a good holistic, integrative oncologist who's gonna know how to do everything. But you don't just go to war against your body, because that's your body. That's not the answer. Okay. Um, but uh, so a lot of endocrine situations, hormonal problems, can be modulated, lessened by somatostatin or their analogs. So you've got to find somebody, or even a conventional oncologist should know about it. So that's, in terms of chemicals and stuff like that. But we've got to look at a biological dentist. There's many, many things you've got to do, like, immediately. Okay, Ashley? Because I know you were saying that you've got children and all that. We want to get you through this, and you can. You can. Don't believe them. Whatever they're saying is not true. Okay, we can do this. We just gotta get you some. You got to get on jump off the train to death, which is where they got you going. I promise you. Onto the train to health. We're going on health. We're not on the disease uh, tour. We're gonna jump into. Uh, we're back on health. Now, who's on the road to health? Every one of us are trying to restore our health, or get it for the first time. Every one of us. That's the path we're all on. So you're not unusual. People that get diagnosis of COCs, that feel like they're different. No, 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 no. You just have a manifestation of toxemia that has been discovered. And so, what do we got to do? Get untoxin. Really, that's simple. Not easy, but that's simple. Okay, so now, Ashley, join the CFC group. Please. Wow. Now, this is Joy. And Joy is saying, question about different forms of fenben and ivermectin and their dosing. Example, ivermectin and fenben come in pill form, paste, and liquid. Are all these forms safe for someone doing a basic protocol for the first time? Many say there's no difference. Are the ingredients different for humans? And also using zeolite, bentonite, and/or diatomaceous earth, and you're on an extremely limited budget. Okay, all right. So Joy, yes, the ivermectin and the fenbendazole that they're using with animals is the same as we would use, right? There's no difference. The distinction that, for example, there's a group of drugs called the benzimidazoles, and you have fenbendazole, albendazole, mebendazole, and there's other ones. Someone or some group decided that the fenbendazole is for animals and the mebendazole is for humans and the albendazole is for humans. But it doesn't matter. Joe Tippins showed us that the fenbendazole, which is supposed to be for animals, he's still in remission. He had advanced stage 4 lung CFCs, and he had chemo, standard chemo, and of course he wound up with 92 or something metastases. And MD Anderson told him, "Look, not much we can do. Go home and get your affairs in order." Whatever that means. They love to say that. So he wound up taking fenbendazole, and he's been clear for what, 8 years now. So fenbendazole, obviously not just for animals. So, yeah. So you could get it however you can get it, right? That's affordable for you. Same with ivermectin. And I would add a third one in there if I were doing it, is niclosamide. And niclosamide you can find at niclosam.com. And that'll come from Lithuania, and they'll send it to you. And usually with that one, it's 500 milligrams 3 times a day for 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And usually with the fenbendazole, it's 22 milligrams 3 times a day for 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Ivermectin, 12 milligrams 3 times a day on, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on. That's for the anti-helminthics, the anti-worms. And then usually for the anti-protozoals, we look at tinidazole, it's 100 milligrams. Depends. Like here, we can get it to 500 milligrams. Usually, in the U.S., I think it was 100. Whatever you can get, one or two of them, of the 100s, 3 times a day. And here, you get 500 milligrams 3 times a day. 3 times a day. The nitazoxanide, which is also called Alinea, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. These are for the protozoa. These are not worms. The worms are the helminths. That's why you're taking the ivermectin, fenbendazole, and niclosamide for the worms. Okay. These other two are for the protozoa, which are single-celled organisms. Okay, just so we keep it straight. Understand? Okay, we're doing 3 weeks on and 1 week off, and when we're doing that, we're taking hepatoprotective herbs. Hepato stands for liver, like you've heard of hepatitis, hepat. So that prefix refers to liver, and then hepatoprotective, protecting the liver. What does that? Silymarin from the milk thistle plant, 500 3 times a day. Alpha lipoic acid, 300 3 times a day. And you got to take a couple of B100s, B complex a day, or the benfotiamine, which is just fat soluble, lipid soluble thiamine, which is B1. But you might as well take the whole B complex. Yeah. All right. Now. So I hope, Joy, that answered your question. Now the other thing, the diatomaceous and all that thing, all those other kinds of binders are very good. You might also consider biotoxin. Where do I have one? Anyway, biotoxin from a company called Cellcore, because it's humic and fulvic acid, which really doesn't bind to nutrients. It just binds to the bad guys. I think I have. I think I have one right over here. Bottle. I want to show you. Yes. 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 Here it is. It's called. Yeah, it's called yeah, by Cellcore. It's biotoxin binder. I don't. I'm not affiliated with this company at all. I don't even know who they are, but it's a good product. I don't sell things. I don't make. I mean, I don't make money on things. I'm not. I don't sell things. Okay. All right. So, remember that. I adore. I mean, if something works, I'll tell you what I use, right? But you can get it anywhere you want. All right. All right. So now, so Joy, good work. Do a juice cleanse to clean your colon, to get some exercise, go to sleep early, and eat human food. Whoops. All right. Where are we now? Here's the next question. Uh, okay. This is from Vanessa. I have some type of internal mites. I have most of the medicine for the protocol my doctor sent me. Your video. You mentioned taking 2 antiparasitics, but I'm not sure if I have the right ones to get rid of internal mites. I've had this for almost 2 years now. It's because all of the 12 doctors I have seen don't really want to bother with this. They are in my nose, my mouth, pretty much everywhere. I have the antibiotic doxycycline. Just need to know how much to take of this daily. Thank you in advance. Okay, wow. 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 2 years. Uh, uh, so, all right. So, mites. So we all know mites and ticks, right? Everyone's aware of ticks because of Lyme's and Borrelia. The tick-borne illnesses. Tick-borne illnesses means that ticks carrying them, right? Anyway, acarology, acarology is the science devoted to ticks and mites. Imagine that. Yeah, there's a whole science, and it's a subfield of arachnology. Arachnology is, uh, you know, spiders and uh, insects, right? Okay, or the spiders. So the spiders, mites fall in this category. So that's why I'm talking about it. Okay, so spiders are they're worldwide. They're on every continent except Antarctica, where hide your ears, close your ears. Where I think there's some stuff going on there, and politically, but I won't talk about it because that's not. I'm not a political scientist. Who am I to say anything? Anyway, so they're everywhere except there. And what's very interesting is that so there are lots of spiders. In fact, as of last year, there were a little more than 52,000 species in like 134 families. Families, you know, is a larger category. Okay. Now, the irrational fear of spiders is called arachnophobia, but I don't know how irrational that is. I think it's pretty rational. I mean, do you know that? Okay, spiders, there are very few that eat plants. The rest are, what do they call them? Predators. Okay. Um, they live about 2 years actually, except for there's one of the tarantulas that can live up to 25 years in captivity, but mostly they live 2 years. Um, so arachnids have 8 legs, which is different than insects, which have 6 legs. Arachnids don't have antenna, and there's some other differences. Anyway, and they don't have to be spiders. They can be in the oceans. Anyway, but it's crazy. There's an estimated 25 million tons of spider species. I mean, 25 million tons of spiders kill 400 to 800 million tons of prey every year. What? Yeah, 400 to 800 million tons of prey every year are killed by spiders. Okay, there's 25 million tons of spiders. So arachnophobia is not so irrational, according to my thinking. I don't like them. And part of they belong to a group, that they have the front two of their legs are called what? Anyway, and that's how they. In fact, that is the name of their category in the arachnid. And these are how they grip and eat. And one of them usually is able to produce a venom. Yeah, and so and what they do when they eat, as you know, they'll paralyze their victim, uh, their dinner, and then they put enzymes on them to dissolve them. And it's pretty. It's like it's in the world of disgusting. It's extremely disgusting and extremely a bummer, and you don't want to be there. So I don't think it's such an irrational. But mites, these mites. Okay, so forget the ticks. Ticks are like they're a little bit bigger than mites. They're like over a millimeter. I think up to 3 millimeters, and you know, they're actually in the group, the subgroup that is called parasite. I don't remember the name; it's a Latin name, but meaning that they're pretty much parasite. Whereas the mites, not necessarily parasite, right? Some mites live in the water, and some are in the soil actually as decomposers, which is what funguses are, right? Decomposers. They're not part of the food chain. And then they're and then some live on plants producing galls. If you want to learn something interesting, I know I'm anyway. I was going to tell you this is how I think. Okay, so it's interesting. I think that there's these things called galls that can form on plants, and they look like a benign tumor. They look like a wart that we might have or an animal may have. So it's an outgrowth of the plant as an interaction, as a response to either an insect or a bacteria or fungus. I don't even use the word virus anymore because I don't think they exist in the way we've always thought of them. So I don't like to even use the word because I don't even know what it means, and I don't like to use words where we don't have a shared understanding of the definition because then we're not communicating. So that's why I don't use it. Okay, but anyway, they cause, in other words, it's the combination of maybe their saliva or whatever you call it, uh, some body part of theirs with the plant, and the plant develops this thing called the gall, and in there they can live, and they're nutrient, they get nutrients, and they can put all their larvae in there. It's a very interesting thing. There's a whole study on, there's a whole like specialists on galls. But anyway, so they can so some live on plants and they produce galls, and then there are others which are predators, right? And then for humans, the predators are, we all know, scabies, right? Scabies is the famous mite, uh, and sarcop, sarcop, sarcoptes is what it's called. And then there's this other mite. Uh, what is it? Demodex that lives on our hair. We all have them, by the way. We have them. You have them. I have them. She has them. He has them. They have them. We have them. It has them. Did I forget any pronouns there? I want to be. I want to be pronoun. What is it? Inclusive. I want to be inclusive. I want to get all the pronouns. Anyway, um, these little guys live on our hair follicles, around our hair follicles, and also and sebaceous glands, which are glands that produce sebum, and sebum is like a waxy stuff. It's what you know. When you say, oh, "I got to get a shower," I feel like slimy. I said greasy. That's what it is, sebum. And sebum is what we see with acne and stuff like that. So anyway, they live there, and they can trigger, kind of like almost like an allergic reaction, an itchy. Scabies actually, uh, the word scabies comes from the Latin, which means scratch, right? um, so these demodex, they don't usually get internalized. I mean, they don't. And you can have some that live on the hair follicles in your nose. You could have that, but they don't really get internalized the way you're describing. What you're saying sounds really more like myiasis, um, myiasis, myiasis, myiasis. How do you say that? Myiasis, myiasis, myiasis. Anyway, which is fly larva. Okay, and usually the bot fly. And we've talked about this before. Now we're talking right now, we're in the realm of ectoparasites. Remember, endoparasites are worms and protozoa. Ectoparasites are on the outside of our body. Now, the, the bot fly, which we've talked about before, um, is looks like a regular fly, um, but it will um, lay eggs on you, or more likely, it laid eggs somewhere else, and another insect like a mosquito or some other tick was in that area and got the eggs on its leg or whatever. And when that insect is drinking your blood, which both ticks and mosquitoes like to do, uh, they drop off the eggs. Those eggs, when they hatch, they turn into larvae. And another word for the larva of a fly is the word maggot, but we won't use that word. Anyway, they burrow into the skin and they go everywhere. They migrate everywhere. They literally do. They come out of the top of the head. They come out of your nipples. They come out of scar material. They come out of the vagina. Uh, Ear. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Okay, and the condition is called myiasis. So that obviously you don't have anything conditioned that, I mean, extreme. But if it's in everywhere, you said it's in your nose, and I'm wondering if it's if this come out when you menstruate. That uh, if you see them moving, it sounds more like, like that. Okay, so it's a fly larva, not a mite. Because I don't think there's any mites, which are arachnids, that go in under the skin and migrate around and come out. There's just none that I know that I've ever read about or heard about. Okay, um, so and a lot of times it's people are mistaken about that. Okay, and then there's Morgellons. All right, now Morgellons, we're not going to go into it deeply, but Morgellons is where they came up with this term delusional parasitosis. These are the same guys who say that a conspiracy theory. They use the word conspiracy or the phrase conspiracy theorist to denigrate anyone saying anything that is in opposition to the story, to the great story, whatever the story is. By the way, I'm not going to use their terms. I don't use their terms because I'm not in their video game, okay? And the term that they would use is narrative. I'm not going to use that word. It used to be a great word when it was before it was overused, and now the narrative. I don't want to hear narrative. I just said I want to hear awesome. That's awesome. Oh, it's awesome. You want these pretzels? Awesome. Words that where you destroy the meaning of a word. I'm not going to get involved with it. So anyway, so the story. If you have a version of the story that's different than what's being presented by the media, um, then you're called a conspiracy theorist. Okay, so just like delusional parasitosis, Morgellons is real. Is real. I've seen it. I've had people come in. I've seen it. All right, and it looks like it'll look like blue and green and orange threads coming out of the skin. I mean, it's crazy. All right, and we now know that there's a lot of research in the area. It might be from. Sorry, this is political. It's not really political because it's affecting our health, so it's medical. Um, Perhaps maybe from aerial spraying. Who knows? Who knows? And they seem to be in a class that we might call synthetic biology, meaning partly natural and partly not. Okay, so anyway, these guys are real, 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 real. Okay, so and that that may be. I mean, that's another one, but those are really they're different. They're coming out everywhere. They're not going to be in the nose. So I think you might have myiasis from a fly larva. I mean, I don't know. So you're saying you're on doxycycline. Normally, doxycycline is 100 milligrams twice a day. Um, in this situation, I don't know what's there, but ivermectin is always helpful for these guys, for the bot fly, for scabies, which are mites. So yeah, ivermectin 12, 15 milligrams 3 times a day is what people would take in a situation like this. You can also get ivermectin as a topical agent, um, and so doxycycline would be at that. You can also take one of the benzimidazoles like mebendazole or albendazole. I think it's taken in this case, so albendazole, and maybe a linea, 500 milligrams 3 times a day, or and maybe a niclosamide. I just wish I knew what was really going on, what that was, but those were. And if you can talk to me, Vanessa, join the parasite group, right? And we'll get into it. We can interact about your situation. That'll be the best. All right. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so okay. So just I just wanted to remember we were talking before about arachnids um, having 8 legs, insects having 6 legs. Uh, well, the arthropod, which is the bigger group in which they belong to. Uh, you've also got centipedes and millipedes, which have 180 legs, pairs, or over 200 pairs of legs. So these guys can have lots of legs. All right. So I don't know your specific symptoms either, because you can use anti. If you're having, if there's a lot of itching and stuff, itching is usually mediated by something called histamine, which is produced by cells and immune cells. As antihistamines help. Anyway, taking baths with Epsom salts. I just don't know what you have, so it's really hard. So you got to join that group, okay? So I can help you a little better. Okay. So remember, usually in those situations, it's ivermectin, mebendazole, or albendazole, metronidazole also. Uh, okay. So now let's go on to anyway. Vanessa, join. Okay. So this is from Elma, and she says it's been it's been fined. It's it's been fined. It's been fined. They found ILC grade 2 intralobular carcinoma grade 2 on September 4th. I contacted you earlier in one chat around that time. That was 2023. Okay. In left and 2 in right. Oh, left breast and right breast. I went to Turkey on cryoablation and localized treatment with immunotherapy direct. Destroyed tissues, finished by December 2023. Successfully, very good treatment. Parallel with it, I started anti-parasitic treatment of ivermectin, fenbendazole, niclosamide, praziquantel. Oh, whoa, yeah, you did a lot. And metronidazole for 6 months, and then made a break, doing it again occasionally. Also consumed GC Moth from Japan, and Immufan, and doing it again occasionally. Okay, wait, I gotta move this. Immufan suppositories from Russia. From Russia, I went to. I wanted to inform you about this excellent product. Please check it up. It's called Immunofan. IMUNOFAN.RU/EN. I guess for English. I understand during my research that ILC is intralobular, I guess, is more likely to come because of fungus, probably residual from breast milk created environment for fungal overgrowth. I breastfed 3 babies each over 2 years. I find that itraconazole is used in those cases, and also you proposing it, but have problem because they find I have RVOT in 2022. RVOT. Everybody, try to remember something. I don't know all the acronyms, and so a lot of times I don't know what people mean when you use acronyms. Just say, tell me what you saw. I have no idea what RVOT is. RVOT, reverse osmosis therapy. I have no idea what RVOT in 22, and I am on metoprolol, a beta block. Right ventricular. Anyway, I don't know what you're talking about. 2 times a day, there is a warning for itraconazole regarding heart. I would do soda bicarbonate injections on the breast lobule. Don't know of anyone doing it. What would you suggest I do instead of itraconazole? Even tumor tissue is destroyed and our necrosis masses. Now I am aware that fungus issues might still be there. Never visited any oncologist. Great. Never got COVID jab. Not even mask or PCR. Stupid test. Good for you. Yay. Proudly pure blood and chasing conspiracy. Personal conspiracy is not theory anymore. One more question. Have you heard about Russian cancer vaccine? What do you think about it? Uh, Russian cancer vaccine. Anybody know about that? Let me see if I can find it here. She gave me the URL or whatever you call it. Let's see if we can find it here. Ugh, it's an mRNA. Okay. All right. No, I haven't heard of this one specifically, but I know that people are talking about cancer vaccines. Okay. First of all, understand something. If you're talking about a cancer vaccine, you're assuming that cancer is a thing, one specific thing that you can prevent, which is a complete misunderstanding of what chronically fermenting cells are. Chronically fermenting cells. This is an adaptive process that naturally occurs when a cell loses its ability to have access to oxygen in order, through mitochondria, in order to have efficient production of energy with glucose. So when it loses that, it has to make energy. So it ferments. That situation can be brought about by many things, by radiation, by chemicals, by uh, uh, microorganisms, nanobacteria, BK, BY. You know, there are many ways in which the cells will lose their ability to use oxygen and have to ferment. So it's not a thing that you can develop a vaccine for. So that there's no, that doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It's not correct. It's operating. It exists on an assumption that is 100% false. So you have to understand that. Okay, so now let's say, for example, that it were a thing that you could get a vaccine for. mRNA is not a vaccine. And if you don't believe that, because you said you successfully avoided the what they're calling jabs. I don't call it a jab because a jab is a benign thing. Hey, man, you jab your buddy, you go out outside, and you get jabbed by a branch. A jab is a benign little thing, right? Kind of a jab, jab your friend. Um, what these things are not jabs. But the reason that word was put out there through BBC, CNN, Fox, all the media put that word out there. It's called linguistic manipulation because what happens the minute it became mandatory, we put that word out so that it downgraded it. It's just a jab. I mean, it's a jab. Did you get jabbed? I got jabbed, and it became a benign thing, and it's not benign at all. It's if there's an opposite of benign, that's what it is. So please, okay, understand that. So there. Okay, so you're in Australia, Elma. Interesting. Very nice. Um, you guys in Australia and UK and Canada and US. Uh, Now, I'm not being political at all, but I'm just going to say, get out while you can. Never mind. I didn't say that. Did he say? Nah, he didn't say that. Why would he say that? He's a doctor. He's a doctor. He doesn't talk about those things. Sorry. Very undoctored thing for me to say. I don't know how I came out of that. So ashamed of myself. Anyway, okay, so that's my answer to you is that there are no vaccines for a thing that doesn't exist. There's an adaptive process that occurs for many situations, and that adaptive process is necessary for survival at that moment. That's what all adaptive processes are. For example, you become insulin resistant because you're adapting to the fact that there's too much glucose in your interstitial fluid. Well, that's a survival mechanism, and you needed to do that. And as soon as you don't need to do that because there's no glucose, you won't do that. You won't adapt in that way. So you don't go after the adaptive process, you go after the reason why the body was adapting. And you eliminate that, and then the body won't need to adapt. It's the opposite approach, the opposite understanding, and we've got to know that. We've got to know that. Okay, so anyway, what was your question, Elma? That was a really long one that I read. It was a lot of stuff. So you took all this stuff. Looks like you're in good shape, right? Oh, the itraconazole. Your question was, what can you use other than itraconazole? Well, there's fluconazole, which is a similar. Then there's nystatin, which are other antifungals. Uh, and nystatin you can get in a pill form. It usually comes in a liquid that you swish and swallow. For people that get they have oral candida, uh, thrush. And if you have it in your mouth, you probably got to have it in your esophagus and maybe not in your stomach. Um, so swish and swallow, they do that way. And it's usually 500,000 units per what is it, 5 cc's. But you can also get it in a pill form, which is the same 500,000 units, and take it in a pill form. So there's that, and there's so the itraconazole, fluconazole, and then the nystatin. Now there are other ones like griseofulvin, other antifungals that are extremely strong, and almost always cause liver problems. So I don't know your situation, how you are right now. Oh, I see. Okay, so you're thinking that the lobular carcinoma, right? Remember we spoke a moment ago, right? I was talking about describing the structure of a breast, right? A breast has these little lobules, sacs that produce milk, and those go through the ducts, and the ducts all go towards the nipple, and the nipple is where the milk comes out of. And then the rest of the supporting structure of the breast is fat and connective tissue, right? And that's what a breast is. So, breast is a gland. It's part of the uh, uh, epithelial, the cells that line the outside of the body, and there's cells that line the inside of the body. So they come from the ectoderm, which is a part of the embryo, and they to produce epithelial cells, and therefore it's called a carcinoma. If it's if you got fermenting cells. So if it's in the if it's a lobular one or a ductal, so that you can have intraductal or invasive ductal, or you can have intralobular or invasive lobular, whatever. Okay, that's all. All we're talking about is where did it start. So was it fungal in origin? Sure, maybe, yeah. That's a very good reason, right? And as I said, cells will ferment when they lose the ability to use oxygen, and that can come about for many reasons, which can include microorganisms, which can include all sorts of things, and a convergence or a confluence of many things, such as microorganisms, radiation exposure, uh, mammograms. That is not political. It's not political. It's actually medical from mammogram, and hormone imbalance. You put it all together, and you're going to wind up with some fermenting cells. All right, so it's never just one thing. Please understand that there's always a multitude of things. And also, how about the mind, fear, and how about which side of the breast depends on your, you know, nurturing side, maternal, parental kind of thing, and on this side, which is more for your relationship with the outside world, like husbands, boyfriends, jobs, fathers, almost not. Anyway, so so then there's those aspects to it. So there's all sorts of variables that come together that result in the requirement to ferment. All right. So should you continue to take antifungals, what you need to do is restore balance to your body. You need to get, because remember, whatever is uh, like we have an oral biome, microbiome, we have a nasal microbiome, women have a vaginal microbiome, and we all have a gastrointestinal microbiome. And then we have, external auditory, they're all over our skin, everywhere. Now, all the ones that are inside, which would include inside the breast, are, but except the ones inside the breast are more related to the ones externally. But all the rest, like vaginal, nasal, oral, are related to the gastrointestinal biome. So if you have a healthy biosis, in other words, all the microorganisms are in a very good healthy balance for them and for you. But if that's not quite the case, if there's a little bit of imbalance, we call it a dysbiosis. So that dysbiosis in the gut will be reflected in the mouth and all the other orifices. But out here in the breast, it's more related to the organisms that live on the skin, and you want to restore a healthy. So that would mean, but again, getting a health, because to have a healthy gastrointestinal biome is essential for health. It's essential for life because they are responsible for and pretty much direct our entire immune system and multiple systems in our body. That they are not them, they are us. They're part of who we are. All right. So um, you need to correct that. Heal your gut, restore biosis, healthy biosis. The way you do that is by eating human food. Because remember, wherever there's organisms of any size, from elephants to oak trees to what do you call them? Redwood trees to ants to bacteria, whatever you have, mosquitoes, they are where they are because there's food. So whatever you're eating is what your gut is getting exposed to. So what you eat will determine what uh, microorganisms are there. That's just the way it is. So the microorganisms that support our health, that make us function optimally, are ones that live on plant food. I don't know how else to say it. There is no other way to say it. So I can't. Sorry for people that like corpses. Sorry about that. I'm not sorry. Sorry for you for being stuck. That's, and hopefully that won't always be the case. So anyway, Elma, right? So now you know you've got other options for, but you can't keep taking just to continue to take antifungals is not going to do it. You need to restore a balance. All right, because the funguses are not still in there. You breastfed 2 years with 3 children for 2 years each. Yeah. But by now that's that food source is gone, the milk, the residual. Um, unless you checked your prolactin levels? You have high prolactin levels. Prolactin is produced by the pituitary gland that tells the breast to push out the milk. I don't know if you have checked your prolactin levels. Uh, let's see if you're still, producing any milk. I mean, to get milk from your nipple. Anyway, a lot of ways you can look at this, Elmo. Join our group. Join the CFC group so we can interact and I can talk to you. Okay, Michael. My dad has chronic lymphoma, leukemia. Takes medicine for it, but he wants to know what we can do to fix it so he doesn't need it anymore. Willing to do anything. Beautiful. Michael, that's beautiful. If your dad's willing to do anything, so he's got a chronic lymphoma, leukemia. CLL, I guess. Um, Willing to do anything. Now, Michael, are you you're new to watching? Because we're pretty clear on everyone's got to do the same things, right? We've got to all do the same things. We've got to clean out all potential toxins, starting with the mouth, starting with the biological dentist. We've got to make sure the root canals have got to come out the proper way by a biological dentist, not a regular dentist. Cavitations have to be sterilized and sealed the proper way. Um, Periodontal conditions. So you got to go to a biological dentist. That has to has to. Second, and this is not necessarily sequentially. It's what you have to do at the same time simultaneously. All right, and then you're going to start a cleanse. You're going to do a green juice cleanse with enough fruit to make it delicious for as long as you can. If you can do it 3 months, do it. Do it minimum of 3 weeks. and it's only difficult in your mind for the first 3 days, 4 days. And then it's like, oh, that's easy because you'll feel like you realize you're no longer hungry. And it's not hunger, it's appetite. You realize that. But it takes about 3 to 4 days. Okay, so we get past that, and then then it becomes easy. And you just drink a lot of juice until you're peeing all the time. You got to clean all. Then you've got to do colonics. You got to do movement, sleep early. There's a lot to it. Then you got to eat real food. Then you want to stimulate your immune system. So there's a lot to this. And yeah, if he's willing to do that, then that's beautiful. Uh, so Michael, um, join you and or your father, join the CFC group, and we can talk about your details. Okay. Uh, okay. So now the Trump team just spoke on this the other day. It says that they will be able to make individual vaccines personalized to each person. Please, Ellie, I hope you guys heard that there's no thing that you can make a vaccine to. And then if you were making a vaccine, it wouldn't be an mRNA, which is a genetically modifying procedure. That's right. We can't mix up what we're talking about. We got to stay straight. The vaccine for CFCs is to live healthy, to avoid all toxins. That's it. There's not another one. Uh, uh, you can add water to the juice, sure. Okay, so anyway, that was that. That was Michael, and now Amanda. Amanda is saying that I no longer have CFCs. I'm still eating real food. Yay! I have elevated parathyroid levels, MTHFR, low DAO. Been treated for Lyme's and supposedly got rid of it. Migraines from nearly everything I eat. Low urea, abnormally low blood osmolality. Whoa. Okay. Well. Okay. Uh, Amanda, you no longer have CFCs. Great. That's fantastic. And I hope that's been a while. You're still eating real food. That's fantastic. Elevated parathyroid level. Okay, so we know that parathyroid is going to take calcium out of the bone, which you can wind up getting osteoporosis. So I don't know what's going on with that and why you would have elevated parathyroid, but you need to work on that. Um, you got to find out what is going on with that now. The MTHFR um, is, that can be just like I was talking earlier about the G6PD can be kind of upregulated. That can be as well. So, I'm not sure what you're doing for that. Are you doing? Are you taking B vitamins? What are you doing for the methyl donor, methyl group? And if you're going to do B12, it should be methylcobalamin. So I'm not sure what you're doing, Amanda. So anyway, and I don't know what DAO is. I'm not sure what you have a low DAO, whatever. I'm not sure what that is. And then, but and Lyme's that you supposedly got rid of. Okay, great. Migraines from everything you eat. Then you have low urea and abnormally low blood osmolality. Well, that makes sense because the blood osmolality, the main uh, uh, osmotically active uh, uh, substances in our blood. One of them is urea, right? Urea, glucose. So anyway, so that is makes sense. So if you have a low urea, you could have a low osmolality. But I mean, now here's the thing about the urea is what when you see on your blood test it says BUN. They look at BUN and creatinine to assess kidney function. But a and then you look at the ratio. So if your creatinine's high, so it looks like you're having kidney problems, they look at the BUN to creatinine ratio to see if it's pre-renal or renal or post-renal azotemia or uremia or and there's different names for the dysfunction of the kidneys. So anyway, your BUN is going to be low if you are a vegetarian vegan. Okay, you just have a low. So it's low compared to the norm who eat who eat animals. So those that eat animals are going to have a high BUN because BUN is nitrogen. It's urea BUN, blood urea nitrogen. So the nitrogen is high, right? So the BUN. So I have a low BUN. Everybody that comes into our center and starts eating the food, their BUN goes down. So, but we don't lose osmolality. It'd have to be really low. So I'm not sure what's happening with you. And I don't know what DAO is. So, Amanda, I don't know how to help you because I don't really understand your situation. So you should join one of the groups so we can interact. Are you there? Anywhere? Oh, DOE, diamine oxidase. So you had, okay, that's what that is. So you had what? You had, wow. I mean, these are like really, I mean, you're talking about low osmolality because who checks osmolality? That's like I mean, I don't think I've ever checked anyone's osmolality. I can tell if they're, I can tell. I work with osmolality. I make sure that any IV I give someone is going to be a appropriate osmolality. So, and very interesting. I'm not. We need to talk. Yeah. Okay. So, Amanda, we need to interact so I can help you because yay, no CFCs. That's fantastic. Okay. So, Sandra. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm currently taking 200 milligrams of hydroxychloroquine twice a day and 6 milligrams of ivermectin 2 times a day. What recommendations for rheumatoid arthritis? Blood work showing parasite infection along with EBV and rheumatoid arthritis factor is high. Rheumatoid factor is high. What was that question? I'm currently okay. You're taking hydroxychloroquine twice a day. You're taking 6 milligrams of ivermectin twice a day. And what is your recommendation for rheumatoid arthritis? Blood work showing parasitic infection along with EBV and rheumatoid factor is high. Okay, so if you're saying that your blood is showing that you have parasitic infection, that means you have high eosinophils, I'm assuming. And if they looked at your lymphocyte subset, then they would have found out that you're polarized to the Th2. That's the only two ways I can imagine being able to say that your blood is indicating a parasitic infection. And EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, I think 99% of the people who have EBV have been exposed to whatever EBV is, have been exposed to it and have the antibodies. So I'm not sure what meaning what you mean. So normally they check, do we have the IgG to the Epstein-Barr, which is a chronic antibody. So if you have the IgM, that means you just got infected for the first time. If your IgG is going really high, that means you're having a problem with whatever EBV is. Now, rheumatoid factor is one of those. It's kind of like ANA, which are basic kind of anomalies of the immune system that are indicative of autoimmune kinds of conditions, is what they are. And so rheumatoid arthritis is considered an autoimmune, meaning that the immune system is going after the body for some reason. It's very different than osteoarthritis. So rheumatoid arthritis is antibody mediated, as opposed to osteoarthritis, which is wear and tear of the joints by living. So your question was, what's my recommendation? Well, okay, so my recommendation, you're asking in relationship to anti-parasitics. Well, you're doing hydroxychloroquine, the ivermectin, in what I have found to be more effective is like 12 milligrams 3 times a day. And I would always add a benzimidazole, like mebendazole, albendazole, fenbendazole, and I would add niclosamide. So we have all three of the anti-helminthics as we've discussed. And I would get an antiprotozoal such as tinidazole or nitazoxanide, which is also a linea. So I would add to those if I were doing if I were working with somebody who needed that. That's what I would do. And then so rheumatoid factor, ANA, all those things are not causes of anything. They're the part of the way the body's responding to a situation that we call autoimmune. And which to me, autoimmune really means that there's something in the body that our immune system has detected that we're not sure we can't detect it. So if we can't detect it, we say it's autoimmune because we think that it's these immune cells are these immune irregularities are just happening because they're stupid, is what we think. The body's stupid, it's attacking itself. And that's never the case. The body is seeing something that we can't see. That's it. All right. So what does that mean you got to do? That means you've got to cleanse thoroughly. You've got to cleanse thoroughly. You've got to cleanse thoroughly. Starting with the mouth, biological dentist, and I'm going to say this until we're all nauseated, ad nauseum. Okay. Biological dentistry. 100%. Cleansing, colonics, lymphatics, exercise, balancing hormones, balancing autonomic nervous system, healing the gut, balancing the immune system, learning to meditate, to turn off the mind, movement all day, sleep early, stop eating for 18 hours a day, eat in a 6-hour window or less, stop eating 5 hours before sleep, go to sleep early, stay well hydrated, and laugh and hug. Put your feet on the ground without shoes. Touch them. Hug people. Everybody you see, just hug them. Pets, trees. Go to the beach. Go to the river. Go outside on your lawn. If there's no pesticides on your lawn, and barefoot. If there are, don't go there. Go somewhere else. Can't go to a park. Yeah. So anyway, you got to find a place to get your feet on the earth. Okay, feet, dirt, earth. We don't like the word dirt, right? Because it's pejorative. We like the word earth. Put our feet on the earth. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now, yeah, Sandra, I'm not sure if I answered the question. I'm not. Anyway, join the parasite group or the general health. Now, this is Jackson with an X. Hi, long story short, been doing parasite killing over a year or two and have annoyed them. They migrated to my eyes, sinuses, genitals, and pretty much everywhere, causing me extreme traumatizing discomfort and drastically changing my mood at times. I need help. I've seen Dr. Lodi videos about him talking with my GP. I have the medicine and the doses he mentioned, but I don't know if I need extra help or just purchased myself. I don't have any more at the moment. In Bali, trying to detox other things, but being attacked by parasites whenever they feel like it. I have to catch a plane back to Australia. Is running out of money. Wow. All right. Jackson. I don't know if you're still in Bali or if you've gone back to Australia, but um, now the way you're describing these parasites, that they're everywhere. They've migrated to your eyes, your sinuses, your genitals. So, okay, again, the only things that do that are the larvae of botflies. Uh, I mean, there's some parasites like loa loa, which you get, in Africa. You know, but all over that, including the from the eyes, sinuses to genitals. I'm thinking again an ectoparasite, botfly, and ivermectin is very good. But with these botflies, you really have they ever come out of your skin? Have you seen them? Or do they come out? You've seen them, because what you usually have to do with these kinds of situations is cover your skin with something that's going to prevent them from breathing, right? So people use peanut butter. I've heard people using peanut butter or some Vaseline or uh, anything that's going to like seal the skin off so that they can't breathe, then they're going to come through. So one woman that I knew from South America uh, would put peanut butter on her body for a while and then get into the bathtub where they would come out. And they would come out the top of her head, they would come out of her skin, they'd come out of her scars, out of her navel. Uh, yeah, it's a terrible thing. And then they uh, so I mean that's what it sounds like. I don't know if unless we're talking about Morgellons, but Morgellons is a little different than that. Although Morgellons you can feel things moving around, but I mean it's so I all I'm saying is uh, changing your mood. Yeah, of course, I'll be happy to talk to your GP. Happy. You got to get into our parasite group. Come on, Jackson, join the parasite group, and let's talk because your situation is I can't really address it because I don't have all the information, and I need to talk with you. Okay, that's why I have these groups. This is why I wanted to do it. Okay, Nips. The name is Nips. Hi, I'm on a healing journey. Yay! From breast CFCs on AOBIV ozone. Auto AOBIV ozone. You know me, MAH, major autohemo IV ozone therapy at the moment. It is it is all right to incorporate glutathione therapy as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so NIPS, breast CFCs is the situation. Uh, Ozone is very good. If you're doing MAH, major autohemo, which is where they take out about 200 cc's of blood, it goes into a glass vacutainer. Then they add in about 200 cc's of ozone, usually at around 40 gamma, and you shake it very slowly because you don't want to break the red blood cells. It turns bright red, and then you infuse it back into your body. Um, that's what you mean, and if that's what you mean, you should be doing it if you can twice a day, as many days as you can. Also, high dose vitamin C, but you should be sipping vitamin C 7 to 7. And I hope you know the protocol: 8 grams of powdered sodium ascorbate in a liter of water, and you sip it slowly from 7 to 7, meaning each sip will be small enough so that you absorb it all. And then you're going to augment that by taking liposomal sodium ascorbate. You'll be taking 1 to 2 grams 3 times a day, just to make sure that you got enough ascorbate. Then when you get your IVs 3 times a week, they will easily go up to the uh, oxidative range and be able to directly kill CFCs, right? So if you're maxing out your ozone and your vitamin C, you want to also max out vitamin A, mixed carotenoids, not just beta carotene, mixed carotenoids. You want to be taking it so that when they do your blood test and they look at your vitamin A level, it's at the upper limits of normal, whatever the range is for your lab. Vitamin D, you want to get your level above 100, D3. So you're going to take what you need. It's 30,000 units a day, 40,000, whatever it is to get you to there. Melatonin at night, you want to go as high as 180 milligrams. You'll work your way up slowly. You want to get your iodine and your thyroid straightened out. That's a whole story. And your adrenals. Get those balanced. Do a cleanse. Put juice, biological dentist. I mean, there's so much that you should be doing, NIPS. Should you get IV glutathione? The answer is no from me. And because you'll be protecting the CFCs as much as you're protecting the non-CFCs. However, if you do intravenous NAC and acetylcysteine, the non-CFCs are much better at making glutathione. So you'll be preferentially helping them. You'll be helping a little bit the CFCs, but more the non-CFCs. What time is it? Oh, 9. Oh, okay. Well, this is a great. Hey, listen, Carla. This is a great complicated question, and it's already after 9. So I'm going to take you number 1 next week. Carla's was about. She wanted to know about. Would I please take some time to explaining what seems to be the foundation of health in Chinese medicine, which is the kidneys, and the kidneys govern the bones. Okay, and the kidneys and the adrenals, bone marrow, uterus. Doctors are no help. You're right. All right. Number 1. That's your number 1 on next Sunday, okay, or Monday morning, wherever you are. If you're in Australia, it's Monday morning. If you're in the U.S. or anywhere on that side, it's Sunday night. Next week, Carla, we're going to start with that, okay, you guys? So, Sawadee Kap, Kapamakap, Tukon. Thank you so much. Namaste, namaskar. And yeah, you guys, fantastic. We made it, and it's another week. And be careful, be aware, and all right. I got to answer this one question by hand. How bad were the vaccines before the COVID injection? We have never needed, ever have we ever needed, never, ever, never, ever, ever, ever have ever needed a vaccine. Ever, anyone ever has needed a vaccine. The inoculation of illness. We have never and we will never need a vaccine. Right? We need to maintain our immunity, our immune status, yes, so that we can deal with exogenous things that could disrupt our health. So we need a strong immunity, but that is not how you get it from injecting anything. They don't work, none of them. And that would be fine if it was just that they didn't work. But what did they do? They cause everything. They cost millions. We don't need a vaccine. You don't need a vaccine for anything. You just need to get healthy. You live healthy. Health. There's listen. This is a very important secret. I want you to write it down and remember it forever. And that is, we're looking for health, right? That's our goal, right? Not to get rid of anything, health, because we have health. We don't have any problems. Now, there's only one way to get there. There's only one way to get there, and that's by healthy living. You can't negotiate it. You can't demand it. You can't purchase it. You can earn it. Period. There's no other way. There's no other way. So, I mean, there's no other way. And if we know that, then we don't consider any other way. And we start living healthy. And then our goal is, what does that mean? Since we didn't grow up learning that, no one taught us how to live healthy, right? They just taught us they just showed us what they were doing, right? And when we look at we look at our parents and we look at our family, we look at them and we see that they're not doing too good when they get older and they're in trouble. I mean, gosh, I don't sure I want to follow these directions. And we realize that, then we say, I got to find out how to live healthy. And that's what we're doing here. So that join the health and healing group. That's what we're going to talk about: how to live healthy, how to stay healthy, how to achieve health, what is health, and how do we get there and how do we stay there. That's where we want to go. Then nothing else matters if we have that, right? So that's what we're looking for. We want to be restored to health, or we want to achieve it for the first time. Okay. All right, so you guys. So please, like, join these groups so we can interact. All right. So what do you got? Kapamaka, namaste, namaskar, aloha, and stay safe, you guys. Oh, there we go.